What's up, Chumbags? Welcome to the HQ. My name is Kandula, and today I'm joined by Nick Sivak for another episode of the Respawn Station podcast. Today, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, a whole bunch of showcases that are coming up and have already happened. But before we get to all that, we have to ask ourselves a very important question, and that is, hey, it's August, so what's going on with the Gamescom stuff, right? So before we get into the main topic, I will quickly say we are officially in August now, and as of when we're filming, not just like when the episode goes up. So things will be shifting around a little bit this month because, as we said, some of us are going to Gamescom, and first of all, you should subscribe because this is the first time we've gone to Gamescom and we have some cool plans. We're getting our hands on some cool games. And if you want to hear us talk about all that, that's the easiest way to guarantee the videos make it to your sub. Well, easiest, it's not a 100% success rate. YouTube's not flawless, but there's a higher chance that you'll see the videos. But in the meantime, since we have started this podcast in its current iteration, like season 1 as we're calling it, and we don't count early access. That was a whole other thing. But season 1, we've been going every week almost. I think at the very least, since we've rebooted the channel, we've had a new video every single week, which was our goal. It's an ambitious goal, and we've been keeping up with it. And so in the time that we're gone, we will actually continue to have weekly uploads, but those will be shifting around a little bit. So first of all, I know that I said that in this episode, we'll have the interview with the creative director of The Office Type. That's actually going to be its own separate episode. So then, you don't have all the fluff of us talking about, yapping about, what we got here? Red Octane games. We don't have to, that's all that fluff is going to go away. We're going to sit there and we're going to talk about what it is like to make a visual novel and also just kind of like other game dev stuff. We always love sneak peeks behind the curtains. Then after that, we're actually going to be releasing the first episode of Retrograde. Yeah, that's right. It's coming back. And it's like the second coming of Retrograde. If we bring back Weecember a third time, we already re-released it. Who knows what could happen? But no, Retrograde. We've been, I think we've said on the podcast it might come back. Maybe this is a trial run. We'll see. So that will keep you guys occupied while we're away. While Nick's getting some time off, hopefully, and then we'll be back at it again for a lot more discussions right after that. So we're gonna have a little break, but you guys shouldn't see it too much. But with that said, it's now time for the main topic of the show. Well, main question of the show. The main topic's not here yet. We'll get to that later. Nick, what have you been playing, my friend?
Two main things this week. I've been putting a lot more time into Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And
is it any more clear now? Like now that you've put 10 hours into it, is it any more?
Yes. I've been having a lot of fun with Clair Obscur. It's a really interesting game in that it is balancing a very emotional kind of tone with a lot of moments of levity and stuff. I feel like this is a game that really understands that it's a game, and it has a lot of fun playing with tropes of games while also still being a really good example of a dramatic, story, a turn-based RPG, all these other things. I have this example that I guess I can share. So, I was going through this kind of story heavy area where I was talking to a lot of different characters, getting into battles, that sort of thing. And we had this goal that we had to go and find this person that we have to recruit to help us get past an obstacle, I guess I'll say, to keep it spoiler free. And I was just exploring the world map, because this game has a kind of a traditional world map where it connects zones where you're in third person. But it's I don't know how they do it. Like, it looks almost like it has that like tilt shift kind of effect where you look kind of tiny in the world space,
Right,
but
like a board game almost.
kinda, yeah. So I was exploring that, and I found this side area, and I was like, sure, I'll go through here. It's a beach area, and in this beach area, there's a parkour challenge, and if you beat the parkour challenge, you get swimsuit outfits for the characters. And it's just like they even say like the music is very jolly when you get there, and it's like, oh, this could be a fun distraction and stuff. So it's like that, you know, world-ending stakes notwithstanding, they still have time to go to the beach and have some fun. So, yeah, it's part of why I think it's been so enjoyable so far is partly due to the writing. The writing is, on the one hand, very dramatic, very serious. You know, it deals with, you know, themes of loss and like why they are going on this mission to stop this paintress and everything. Some really kind of introspective stuff. And then there's also just like so many lines that have actually made me like laugh out loud, or like little references that they put in on like different conversations and stuff. There's this one group of people, I guess you would call them, called the Gestrels, and they're kind of like designed like little artist models, like those little wooden like desk models that you like pose in different ways.
Right.
That's like their bodies, and then their like heads and hair are like a paintbrush head. So they're this very interesting like looking creature, but their whole kind of thing is that they're like kind of stupid and they like to fight. So like there's just a lot of really funny dialogue that comes out of that, where it's just like I'm trying to think. There was an example of like a bazaar owner, like essentially, and like a customer, and the bazaar owner's like, aren't these items so great? And then the customer is like, nah, they're worthless. And then the owner's just like, at first they are worth a lot, and then they're worthless. And then the other guy's like, oh, that makes sense. And then they just like stop the conversation. And so it's just like little things like that are just very quirky and funny, that I think really kind of break up the moments where like something like, you know, pretty serious happens, and like it's very like high drama and everything. Part of that's also sold well by the performances in the game. I really haven't found any that stand out as being like particularly poor or anything like that. Like every single character that gets introduced, it's like
crazy considering the scope of this game.
Mhm.
That there's no, I mean, yeah, famously Charlie Cox, right? Daredevil is also the fact that he like did all of his recording in like was like a day or two. Like he's like, yeah, I didn't do much for that game. It's kind of crazy how he's essentially. Am I wrong? Is he the main character?
Yeah, he at least for the beginning part of this, he is like, I would say your party is the main character. Like each of them have like equal weight,
Sure.
I would say, in as far as like spoken lines, and like you can switch between which character you're controlling at any time, so you can explore as whoever you want when you're playing the game. It doesn't affect like battle order or anything like that. So yeah, I would say like the party as a whole has it, but it is funny because going into it knowing that Gustav is played by Charlie Cox, it's like the performance capture and stuff, you can definitely tell it's him. Like it has some of like just like his mannerisms, his cadence of speaking, and like, you know, different hand gestures that he does. It's like I've only ever seen him in Daredevil, but it's like even just watching it, I'm like, I can see it like through the code and the art design. I can see it. So it's just a very incredible thing. Combat has been really fun to kind of play around with. So it is turn-based combat. Because last week I spoke about the prologue, and there's very few real combat scenarios in the prologue. It's like a handful. I've gotten a lot more time to sink into it now. I don't think I mentioned, but I'm about like 12 hours in. So I've put like a decent chunk of time in. And it's so cool. So you have the game is turn-based at its structure. You have like a timeline on the side. You can see when your characters get their turn and when enemies get their turn. And each character in your party kind of has like a different rule set and a play style. So like Gustav, he has this mechanical arm device, and essentially if you deal damage with attacks, it'll give him like an electrical charge in his arm that'll build up to 10 charges. And once you have 10 charges, you can use this overcharge ability that'll do like massive electrical damage with his arm. You can do it at any time, but if you build it up to the full 10, you get like a super powerful attack. Then there's Lune, who is, I guess you would call her kind of the spellcaster type character. A lot of her moves are more like specifically elemental attacks. And then she has this little, like, I don't even know what you would call it. It's like a little meter that has these slots in it. And these slots are filled by something called a stain. And essentially, it's when you use certain moves, it'll give you that elemental stain. So like if you use a fire move, for instance, you'll get one fire stain put into this meter. And then other moves that Lune can do get buffed depending on when you cash in specific stains. So like you might have like, say you do like a fire attack and you do a lightning attack and you have a fire stain and a lightning stain. You might have a third move that's like an earth attack, and if you have a lightning and fire stain, it'll do triple damage. So it's like it kind of incentivizes you to like think about what moves you're using first to allow you to cash in and get like even more damage. Or some of them have been like, if you have, this stain, you get health back on your attack and stuff like that. So there's a lot of really cool complexity with her character specifically. Then you have Mael, who she has again another different style where she has different stances. So she can be in an offensive stance or a defensive stance, or there's a third one called the virtuous stance. And essentially, if you're in offensive stance, you do more damage, but you'll take more damage. If you're in defensive stance, it's the opposite. You'll, take less damage, but you'll deal less. And then virtuous is kind of just like I think like an all-around, like, good stance to be in, but you have to use certain moves to actually get yourself into that stance. And then there's like a fourth character, which, is a whole other play style again, but I don't want to get too into the nitty-gritty with all of that. All to say, it's really fun. You have these different characters, all these different moves and different permutations, and then on top of that, it's also pretty active in that you have to do like the little quick time events, like I mentioned last week, to do, different modifiers on your attacks. But also you can dodge and parry when enemies attack you. And so you can get to a really cool groove point where it's just like, okay, like I can get through a fight by like dodging, parrying, and, I basically negated all my enemies' attacks and flipped all that damage back on them in fun ways. But the enemies love to really trip you up on that. Like there's this one enemy I was fighting.
The psych outs, like the
exactly like that. Like there was one that I was fighting where he straight up fakes you out with a fake punch and then goes in for the real one. And like if you parry at the wrong time, like it's like a pretty big whiff if you miss and stuff.
Oh,
so
sure.
Like really long wind ups and then they go in for the attack. So it's, on the one hand, it can feel kind of annoying when you're fighting an enemy and you just like keep getting pummeled constantly and you can't get your timing down. At the same time, rarely do those moves change. So like you can learn the timing and learn what to look for when you're going up against an enemy or a boss or something like that. But yeah, it's just been a whole lot of fun. Exploration's been really cool. It
almost sounds like, just from the way you describe it. And again, Nick, I don't know if you know this about me, but kind of play Souls-like games now. And it kind of feels like they've added like that kind of Souls-like practice like into a turn-based combat game. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because essentially, as you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, that's how when I'm playing through Wu Chang, it's like, oh, I'm feeling the pace, and then eventually I can, like, the areas that are like, oh shit, this is terrifying for me. you'll eventually learn the attack patterns of every little grunt walking around. You're like, all right, fuck you, get out of it. And
Mhm.
and you're essentially doing that in a turn-based combat where it's usually just like, oh, you hit, I hit, you hit, I hit.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. I think I would caution with the word of Souls-like, only in that I don't think that this is like challenging like a Souls-like. Like I've definitely died a lot, and I'm not particularly used to turn-based combat games. I've played a couple, but not like it's not like a go-to genre, like I said, for me. So it's I wouldn't say it's quite like, you're not going to be beating your head against a wall, I'd say, on most of these. And if you are, it's because you're there too early, and they usually signpost that. Like there's a couple areas that I've come across where like before you enter, it just says danger in red text, and it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be here right now. So yeah, I could go on for a lot. I'm sure I'll have.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you didn't even mention the soundtrack.
Good thing you mentioned it. Yes, the soundtrack is also incredible. It's extremely varied. It's like I sent you that one track where it's like very orchestral, epic music, and then it just goes into like club music, like halfway through.
The synths kick in.
The exploration.
Also, that was the first time that I think I really saw gameplay. That's like as you're describing the combat, that's what I was picturing, because I was like, I didn't actually realize that it was turn based, and then you can like kind of there's like a timing to the counters and parries and stuff. Like it was interesting.
Yeah, it's a really cool game. I can really understand why it's enraptured so many people this year. It feels like it just has everything. The one thing that I do think is a bit of an issue for me with the game is I do think that the menus and some of the UI is like information overload. Like there are some where it's like it's good to have that information when you're trying to craft like a character build or something like that, but between all of the different permutations and moves and stats and everything, like I don't even know where I'm supposed to be looking on some of these screens to see what's being affected. There are so many systems.
Is there like an optimize button that just kind of like sorts you out?
Not really. Like at least not that I've really seen it. They kind of like gradually ease it in, but it's just like if I just rattle off a couple of things here, it's like you have your pictos, which have their own abilities. You have weapons that have their own abilities. You have your healing tints that have their own window. You have your affinities with so like say when you're building your character, like you have an affinity for vitality and defense. Well, some weapons will be buffed because of those stats, but some of them also aren't. And then you have like your level up screen and your stats screen and your skill tree, and it's just like it's very information dense. That I think some of it could have been pruned a little bit here and there. Like I don't think I need to be seeing everything that the menus show me, but that's really the only kind of negative I have with the game at this time. Like I've just been having so much fun with it. The narrative is intriguing. They have like an interesting mystery going along with this, overall goal to go attack the Paintress. So yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun with it. It's definitely a time sink game for me right now.
Yeah, no. So you think right now, 10, 12 hours in, it's in that like top of the year talk for you?
Oh, for sure. I think I'm gonna really enjoy it by the end of it. If it holds this consistency throughout the entire game, yeah, there's really nothing outside of those menus that I said that I could really complain about.
I saw this thing about how I guess some of the developers of Clair Obscur were former Ubisoft devs, and there's another game that there's another big game that's doing well that was also former Ubisoft developers, and I was like, wow, good on Ubisoft to train these hard working people and then be like, all right, now let's make this a shitty place to work so you can leave, and then you can make great games on your own. It's really it's a public service essentially, but yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what I'm sure this will shape up pretty positively if everything else I've heard about this game is rings true, which so far it seems it has.
Hmm.
All right, now you have a demo, so a smaller chunk. But what else you got? You've been playing?
Yeah, the only other real main thing, I mean, I could keep beating a dead horse and saying I'm playing Tony Hawk, but what you're referring to is the demo for Shinobi Art of Vengeance, which initially was not on my radar really. I'm not much of a Sega person, so I've just not had much familiarity with their classic franchises. But this is kind of one of the first ones that's in their classic revivals that they've been working on.
Yeah.
But what specifically got me to try this demo is that I played Streets of Rage 4, and this is from the Streets of Rage 4 dev team. And so I was like, okay, really loved that. Now I'm paying attention to Shinobi here a bit more. So visually, this demo is you can kind of tell after playing Streets of Rage, like it kind of has that like painterly hand-drawn kind of style that the Streets of Rage 4 character models and the environments have, but with this like ninja kind of aesthetic to it.
I see.
It's not like a beat 'em up like Streets of Rage 4 is. This is more of like a 2D platformer like action game, I would say. And the demo's pretty meaty. I've played through it twice, and I've clocked in about like an hour and 10 minutes. So it's about like a half hour to get through it one time. And you explore these different environments. You have like a sword that you can obviously slash at, and there's like different combos. So you can do like, your classic like XXYY, XXXX kind of attacks. And you also have these like kunais that you can throw with like the B button, essentially. I was playing with an Xbox controller. And it blends platforming, action, and just like a little bit of like exploration, that sort of thing with the environments. And it's fun. I really enjoy the feedback of the combat. There's like, when you're slashing at enemies, it has that appropriate amount of like slow down and stopping power to where it really feels really impactful. And then they do certain things where like you have this roll move, and if you use the roll move in the air, you'll do like a little air dash. And if you combine that with like, you air dash, it gives you extra hits in your combo. So you can do a thing where it's like you go like slash, 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 jump, dash, slash, slash from the other direction, and it kind of like combos the enemies. So there's a lot of fun stuff there. There's like, an execution move where like you can like dash into multiple enemies and take them all out at the same time. There's a store that you can come across, and you can buy different additional moves, or these little like special moves that you're able to do as well, like a little fireball, or does like a little kunai like circle throw essentially. And this one has more of like a story than Streets of Rage 4 has. Like the Streets of Rage 4 story is like in a couple of cutscenes and a block of text at the beginning of the game, whereas this feels a little bit like there's characters talking to each other and everything. Like the villains are very defined and like have character to them. So it seems like they are upping the ante a bit with like the storytelling in the game. The gameplay feels really snappy. I did run into a bug the first time I played through the demo where I loaded into like a mini boss encounter and the camera was like below the floor. So like I just had to fight this enemy blind essentially. Thankfully they didn't attack a whole lot.
The Shinobi way. That's a feature.
Pretty much, yeah. I was just using audio cues and I'm like, I hope it's dead. So I did run into a couple weirdness with that. And ultimately, after playing the demo, I'm not sure if I'm going to really pick it up day one and play it. Like, it seems like a fun game and one that I would enjoy, but it also, I don't know, I feel like the Streets of Rage, I kind of leaned a little bit more into like that overall design versus, what I'm seeing here, which is just kind of like ninja action stuff. I just think thematically maybe I'm not as interested in it, but
Yeah.
the demo is certainly fun, and I think if anybody is looking for something 2D and maybe don't want to go with Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which is also coming out around this time, which is crazy that you're getting two very similar 2D action kind of retro ninja games right now. Maybe give Shinobi a try, but yeah, I liked what I played. I'm just not sure that I'm gonna continue with it at this point.
Yeah, that's Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and it's coming out later this month on August 29th. So keep an eye out for it. What was the other one you said? Ninja Gaiden, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
they're back to back, man. Yeah, interesting. Whenever I hear the word ninja, my there's a movie called Ninja Assassin, a movie that I remember very fondly because I was not allowed to watch it as a kid because it was like, it was like I rented the movie and then my parents looked at the back and were like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then I snuck it in anyway, and then it, it is so brutal. If you haven't watched it, I recommend it. But there's a part of the start where this guy is like this old man's like, oh my god, there's ninjas, and he's like, what? There's no ninjas here. Ninja, 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 and then he makes fun of ninjas, and then the most brutal death follows immediately. So yeah, that's immediately what I think of.
Was Ninja Assassin the one that had like a scorpion-esque spiked
the
whip
blade thing?
Yeah.
I
remember seeing like a trailer for it, I think, when I was a kid or something, but yeah.
Dude, I highly recommend, if you're in the mood for some ninja action, it is. And the thing I truly appreciate is that they don't hold back. So there you go. This is an impromptu like this, try that. If you like Shinobi or Ninja Gaiden, go try watching Ninja Assassin.
Real quick, Sri, I have one thing that I have to say in regards to the Expedition 33 thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's not really a spoiler. It's not a content spoiler, I guess I'll say. But this is, I think, the first time that I've experienced a game cutscene going into 4:3 aspect ratio.
Oh,
I thought you might be interested in that. I can't recall another time that I remember a 4:3 aspect ratio change in a video game
full
cutscene.
rendered cutscene. Yeah, not just like a a 4:3 game.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's crazy. Huh. Was it cool? Was it intentional?
I didn't notice it at first, and then whenever I did notice it, I was like, "What the hell?" It was crazy. Yeah. But yeah, they did it in a cool way. So.
Okay.
But I've been yapping your ear off. What have you been playing, Sri?
It's not much, but obviously, last week I mentioned that I had already rolled credits on Mario Kart World. But man, I just randomly put it up on the TV, and Alexa started playing with me, and all of a sudden we are. She's like, we have an hour to chill, and she's like, let's go play Mario Kart. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart on the TV.
Nice.
And I think the current obsession is she realized that the character skins are locked behind those lunch bags,
Mm-hmm.
and so she's looked up a list, and she's like, all right, we still have 4 for Donkey Kong. Or not, actually, first of all, that's a lie, because Donkey Kong only somehow has 2. That makes no sense. How does Yoshi have 8 and Donkey Kong has 2? Anyway, I digress. We've just been switching characters and unlocking new cars, and because it's 2 of us, it's pretty much every time we finish a Grand Prix, we have another new car unlocked and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it's been fun to just play that and get some more characters, so that inevitably when we drop off of it, until friends come over or something,
mm-hmm.
the idea is that you can have your favorite character in 1 or 2 different looks.
I gotta ask,
that's
real quick before if you're moving on from Mario Kart, I do gotta ask,
go ahead,
what your opinion of this game's Rainbow Road is, because I kind of liked what they did with this one, and it's maybe not the hardest Rainbow Road in the world, but I really visually the spectacle that it has in this game.
Yeah, no, there's actually, I think I've said it last time, but the game has quite a few moments where the map makes you go oh shit. Like, oh, I see what they're doing here. And yeah, like Rainbow Road is it's I've only played it like probably 3 times, but every time I've gone on it, that at the ending part, I'm like, oh shit. Like it
Hmm.
just kind of like really hits. I think there's something like almost, and it is the credits, like track or whatever. So it has like this really like celebrate, like we're celebrating, like the train's going by as you're, and like there's something really fun about just skirting through the different lanes as they twist and turn if you can
Hmm.
do it right. Yeah, it turns out really well. It's fun, and you know what? I've also played a little bit free roam, literally just to collect more of these goddamn character skins.
Hmm.
And it's interesting. Like there's it's almost similar, because I don't know if we've really kind of talked about the just the general open worldness of it. Like I think we were both a little bit hesitant of its value. Like it
Hmm.
grows old fast. But there's like moments, and I think like in the hour, let's say per hour, it's like moments of like a minute or something where the game will really just click, and all of a sudden you're in a flow state and you're skirting through the corners perfectly. It's like I'm describing it like it's Baby Driver, but the idea is like those moments come very rarely, but they're there, and it's really cool when it does. But like I'd rather play like Need for Speed and get something like
Sure.
that personally. I feel like I get that more at a more consistent rate. But yeah, Mario Kart has been the other one, the kind of casual game. And after an entire month of July just being, me bashing my head against the TV for Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, I decided to quite literally go to the opposite end of the scale. So there was a few games that I had on my backlog that are visual novels, and I saw that 2 of them were on sale in the eShop, and I figured, what better way than to get them on this thing because you don't have to worry about them running poorly. It's just a visual novel. It plays very straight. It's straightforward to run. There's no
Hmm.
heavy processing for the most part. So I'm not going to talk about the other one just yet. That'll be another day whenever I get to playing it. But the first game that I have played on my Nintendo Switch 2 that's not Mario Kart World is World End Syndrome. This is from Toy Box Inc., the developer and publisher. Nick, very topical the last episode, Arc System Works. That's right. They publish games too.
Hmm.
And I did not know that until I booted up the game and their logo came up. And I was like, oh, that looks familiar. So this is a really weird game. And I did my best to kind of take my notes and, try to make it make sense in a way that's not like, oh well, obviously, these are all on par with what you can expect with a visual novel. But I think the best thing I can give you, instead of just sharing first impressions, is I think talk about just the medium overall, because I think visual novels are really sit at this very unique place between video games and books, to the point where I think people sometimes like freely switch up the words. Like some people say, "Oh, I'm playing this visual novel," and other people say, "Oh, I'm reading this visual novel." I think that's like a telling sign of how people approach it, right?
Hmm.
Usually, people who like to read just books will probably be like, "Oh, I'm reading this visual novel." Gamers are like, "Yeah, I'm playing it."
Yeah.
So what this game does, and here's the thing: I'm going to spoil this game to a degree. And I'm doing that out of the sheer fact that, like, if Nick came up to me and was like, "Hey, dude, what's a visual novel I should play if I was to play one?" I don't think I'd necessarily say this one, but I think it's an interesting case of like it can make for an interesting example, which is why I'm choosing this one to spoil. If you don't want to know anything about World End Syndrome, or World End Syndrome, as the title card says, then you can skip ahead for, let's say, I'll do my best to do 5 minutes. So skip ahead 5 minutes, click the skip button like 10 times. That should get you through, assuming it's 30 seconds. Anyway, um, so here's the thing. I started playing the game. How Long to Beat said it was like 13 and a half hours long. And I was like, okay, sure. about 5 hours in, I'm guessing. Again, Switch 2 has this atrocious thing where it's hard to track stats unless it's been 2 weeks since you've played the game or something.
Hmm.
So I don't know exactly how far I was in. I'm gonna say somewhere around 5, 6 hours. And I was like, wow, I'm really curious about where this is going and what's happening. And essentially, I didn't set up the premise of the story, so my 5 minutes are going to be running fast. Essentially, you play as a kid who is going to this town after some loss in your past. Like a year ago, something really tragic happened, and you're trying to just escape it. So you come to this town. You're living with like a relative of a relative of a relative who happens to be a hot girl, and in this mansion. Literally, it's like a setup, and so but things are happening because this town has this like a supernatural past, and they have this story that of this thing called Yomi Bito, which is essentially this ghost that comes back to life but doesn't know that it's like dead, and um, it goes on a killing spree, and the legend has it that this happens every 100 years, Pennywise, but longer, and so the last time it happened was exactly 100 years ago. So now you're here for the summer, you just finished a semester, and things start happening, and you have to figure it out. So this mystery is building, and I was like, wow, wonder what's going to happen here. And I'm making like there's not a lot of choices, but I've made a few, and all of a sudden, like I'm 6 hours in, and I'll kind of quickly add into at the start of the game there's like a small little introduction, maybe like 30 minutes if that, and then there's like a small like a they start to play essentially like an anime opening, like anime, like a cinematic with credits and stuff, but like right as it's about to start the film burns away and it stops, like it doesn't actually play. It's like starts going and then it's like, no, never mind, it's like you thought. It's essentially like a boss or in Clair Obscur. It's like, oh, you thought it was good. No, no, just
Yeah.
kidding. But then 6 hours in, all of a sudden, in the space of 10 minutes, things get dark and my character dies. And I was like, what the fuck? And then the screen came up and it said worst ending. I was like, oh, what the hell just happened? Now, the great thing is it's a visual novel, so when you reload a save or when you go back and you start a new save, it has the option to have if you've already read a dialogue, it changes the color of the text, so at a glance you can tell if you've already read it or it's new. And when you press the skip button, it can skip through all the dialogue you haven't read, and when it gets something new or a decision that you have to make, it'll stop. So I ran through the game again. I was just like, you know what? Let me just, and it was like super fast because of all these features. And I get to a point, I make some different decisions. I get to a certain story beat where it seems like the story really diverges, the start of summer break.
Hmm.
And then the game, the character is essentially like, well, I guess summer's about to begin now. And then it plays the real fucking animation. So I'm like it plays the full intro sequence with the song all the way credits, title card drops. So essentially, you've created you have a prologue, which happens to be the whole opening of the game. The whole, the first death that I had
Hmm.
essentially acts as a prologue to the game. You run it back, and then running it back sets up the rest of the game. It's a weird setup that you can't really do in a book, right? Like you can't have a book and be like, oh, actually you died. Read the book again from the start, but then this time, by the time you make it to that part, things will change.
Uh,
Like it's a weird dynamic, but it works pretty well. And I think at the time, like when I got the worst ending, I was like, let me think about this for a second. And then I kind of like thought, analyzed how I felt about it. I was like, that's kind of weird, and I don't know how it works. But then going back to it, I think it sinks in pretty well, and I'm curious to see how like I'm effectively, if the timeline of the events is true, the game has a certain end date in mind. I'm about halfway there, and so I'm really curious to see how it goes. I will say that as a general kind of note, that if you are interested in the game, it's got Japanese voice acting, or I think it's Japanese or Korean or Chinese. I don't know. It's some Asian voice acting. It is voice acted, but I don't speak the language, so I have to read the text
mhm.
subtitles anyway. But the voice acting is like really good though. Like it does a good job of like giving the emotion. It is very like anime. So there's like some pervy like comic side relief. The game also skirts the like it's like almost fan service, but then it's like no, just kidding. But you thought about it though, right? And so it's got these weird moments. But overall, I think the interesting kind of premise and setup of this town and you know what's happening here and everything like that are enough to get me kind of going back to it. And also, you know, right now with the main chunk of the gameplay, you're going through like one day at a time of like gameplay, and you can essentially pick up the game, which again, really easy if you're playing on the Nintendo Switch too, or the Nintendo Switch One. You can run this thing on any handheld. And though I do believe that this is a Nintendo Switch exclusive. I believe that's what I think I heard on the
Hmm.
internet, and I believe everything I read on there. And so you can pick it up, play for like 10, 15 minutes, get through a day or something, and then or like even half a day, and then just put it away. So it's convenient for that. But yeah, it's not my favorite visual novel. It's not lining up to be, but it is like really interesting to experience like a pretty well made product in this genre, especially considering like the last one I played was like in early access and the first episode came out and I reviewed the first episode. You can read that on respawnstation.com, but then like I think they're still actually polishing the first episode. And so there's not a lot of resolution. So I'm hoping for that in this one. Also, think about my perspective there. Like I was like hoping for a visual novel that had some sort of a resolution, and then the first playthrough, like I'm, you know, everyone dies, and I'm like, what's going on? This didn't feel right. But no, I've come around on it. So there you
Yeah,
go. That's my thoughts on World End Syndrome. Go ahead.
I'm curious how you specifically play those because y- visual novel is not like a genre that I really play like at all. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
do you play for extended periods of time or do you kind of like try to break it up into just like little chunks or like do you play until you like get bored or uninterested or want to do something else like how do you specifically play one of those games?
So I that's a good question. I think it changes based on like certain types of games. So first of all, some visual novels have the ability to like save whenever you want. That's great. You can, you know, then it really is like, oh, I have like a little bit of time. I can hop in and do that. This isn't that kind of game. You can only save it like at periods of times, like certain like things have to happen before you can save.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, I'm more of like you know, oh, I have to get to this certain point and then go from there. Again, you can usually put 20 minutes in and get through it. What I think is interesting is that it's sort of like a book, right? This one especially, I feel like it's sort of like when I'm reading a good book, or at least like an interesting book, because I'll go through like you know, there's been times where I've sat down and I'm like, all right, an hour, I'm just essentially just reading, you know, I'm just going through and I'm up like for an hour and I'm just reading, but then throughout the day, if I have time, I'll just like, oh, you know, I finished my lunch in X amount of time. I still have 20 minutes left. Let me just go read a little bit and progress the story. And there's, it's an interesting perspective of like, after the prologue, again, once they drop the title card, you have the map opens up. And it's, again, I haven't seen this mechanic in any other visual novel that I've personally played, but there's a map and you can pick where you want to go, and then depending on where you go on the map, you have different chance encounters with other characters and stuff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it opens up different kind of like you know you can predict what character you might see in what location, so you can kind of play play to that way. But
Mm.
yeah, it's been interesting. I honestly, if you're new to visual novels, I do eventually want to put together like a list of like what ones I would recommend. Obviously, like I think Danganronpa is an easy one. I know Ace Attorney. People love Ace Attorney. I personally didn't click with it. I feel like I have to go back and you know try it again.
Mm.
But Virtue's Last Reward, great. I own that on two different platforms. um, 3DS, by the way, and PlayStation Vita. So thriving consoles, really. That's only place I own it. But yeah, there's interesting ones that I recommend. again, that's why I use this as an example. I'm not sure if it was like the best one to play, but it's flexible. It's like reading a book. So I don't know what the pace, and also it also changes. I will say if there's voice acting, because if the game has if it has English voice acting, because then I'm approaching it differently. Sometimes if it has English voice acting, it's like watching a TV show. It kind of changes that perspective a little bit too.
Sure.
So yeah,
Gotcha.
that's I think that's all of them playing. I don't think I have anything else. So I will say that I did pick up a few games on the Nintendo Switch too. I have this thing, Nick. I don't know if you have anything similar, but if I buy a console, or if I get a console, even if it's a gift or whatever, um, I feel like I have to at least play one game on it, like finish one game on it, in order to feel like, okay, I've somehow to some degree justified this existence of like possessing this item.
Sure.
So obviously Mario Kart World is one, but now I'm focusing on trying to get a few more on the Switch too. And so I picked up a few games that I'm curious to try out. That's all I'll say for now. Let's see. Should I tease any of the games or should I just wait, Nick? I'll let you decide.
Tease a genre of one.
Of one? Okay, I picked up let's see. I picked up a JRPG
Ooh.
that I have never in a series that I've never played before.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe this is a Gamescom flight thing. Again, full honesty, I say that, there's a chance I get on that plane, I'm like, I'm fucking out. I'm passed out. There's might not even open the Switch too, but it's there if I want it.
Exactly.
Now, with that said, we got some news to talk about, and there's a wide range of news. We'll actually stay on the news of Nintendo and the Switch specifically first. So the Switch had some price increases, which obviously we knew the Switch 2 and everything like that. That was a controversial point of tension for Nintendo. Coming prior to release, and as we now know, it was devastating for Nintendo. The price really ruined this thing. No one's gonna buy it. Right? No one's buying this thing. No one's buying this thing. But no, this is the Switch 1 is going up or has gone up in price in certain places. So the original Switch, which I purchased with my hard-earned money for $299, while Nick just threw a fucking thing in a what was it, Nick? Did you throw something? Did you?
It was what Sri's getting at is that I won mine at a carnival game essentially, and it was I had to pay $10 essentially to get a stack of quarters, and I had to put the entire stack on one spot that was on a wheel, and then I had to spin the wheel and have it land on there.
Wow! So you spent $10 on this Switch. So it's a real price
event,
upgrade.
I should say for that specific event. There were other attempts totaling about maybe like $70. Sure. We'll say, but still, yes.
Sure. So that price is gone from $300 to $340. The OLED Switch which was at a base price $50 more at $350 will now go for $400, and the Nintendo Switch Lite, which was a very affordable $200 for what it was, is now $230. So still, the lowest end Nintendo console that you can own right now, where you can play kind of a lot of the Nintendo games that are coming out. Because I don't think there's a lot of exclusives just yet. I mean, look, the Switch I'm just surprised that they even went out of their way to increase the price of this thing. But I guess it's just the state of how things are with in terms of like production and getting games or getting systems across borders and tariffs and all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's just the state of the world that we're in now. But like it is very like we're also used to previous generations of consoles going down in price once the new one goes up. So to have it go up in price is just like, okay, like Switch already sold 150 million. Like it's again, from their perspective, it's like it's probably not going to have that much of an impact, honestly, like on the sales of that system specifically. So Weird, but not entirely surprising with how things have been going the last couple months.
Yeah. Well, next. Well, I mean, what do you want to go? What do you want to go with this thing? I mean,
Let's
we'll
just hit
stick
the
with
other
Nintendo.
Nintendo one. Yeah.
Okay.
There, in addition to the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase that we'll be talking about in a little bit, they did announce that there is a new Indie World Showcase as well that is going to be happening tomorrow as of our recording.
Yep.
So get all your Silk Song hats out, everybody. Let's get it this time. Woo! No,
it is. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it, right? Like, I have no attachment at all to it's not a comment on the quality or the whatever the product, all that crap. That's just to get the disclaimer out of the way. I have no attachment to Hollow Knight or Silk Song or anything, but it's every single time a showcase comes around, you can see him like it's almost like man, I wish there was like a GIF that perfectly like exemplified it. Maybe there is, but it's like people getting all excited, and then like every single time it's just a collective oh, like you can see it coming every single time. I pity you. I pity you, Silk Song fools who are scraping for 2 seconds of a clip. God, that must be terrible.
Yeah. Indie World in general, like I enjoy watching them because you can usually find like a couple of games that pique your interest, whether or not you're into action games or RPGs, or a lot of the time they'll have the like farming sim kind of Stardew Valley-esque kind of games in there. I particularly enjoy watching them because Devolver usually shows up, and so I like seeing which potential future Devolver indies are going to be my favorites. So I'm excited to give it a watch. At the bare minimum, there's usually at least one game that I'm excited about out of an indie world. So
hold on, Nick. I finally got the right metaphor for this Silk Song situation. All right, it was at the tip of my tongue and I couldn't get it out. Here's what it looks like as an outsider looking in. It's like you're waiting at like a restaurant for your food to be delivered, and you're just like sitting there. You're waiting for your food too, and there's a guy next to you, and every time the person comes out with an order, they're like, "It's my turn," and it's like, "Order 23," and then he's like, "Oh," and then he goes in, and comes back, "Order 39." Oh, that's what it's like. That's what it's like. Just seeing the excitement build up at the possibility. And then, nope, it's another order. Someone else's order, actually.
My favorite thing is seeing all the people I follow on Twitter post the one picture of the Hollow Knight with the clown wig on and the red nose.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite post Nintendo Direct online revelry.
There's also like the countless people that are like, if Silk Song gets announced, I'm gonna give every person who retweets this a Nintendo Switch 2, and like it's I don't know, it's yeah gotta do with one of those these days.
Yeah, this game's gonna be crazy. I'm very curious to see when it comes out, because like this is like, I played Hollow Knight, I enjoyed it, but I'm not like a super fan like a lot of people are with it. And so it's like, I might play Silk Song, but it's probably not going to be like a high priority for me, at least at launch.
Day one.
And so, but the level of hype around this, I mean, it's like more than most AAA games. It's like,
yeah.
It's crazy. I
feel
bad.
It's a scale that a few indie developers can get to.
Yeah, I feel bad for the pressure that they must feel from that, because it's almost like Half-Life 3.
That's another
like
thing
GTA
too, right? Like,
level.
it's like the George R.R. Martin of it all.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's crazy. So,
well, find out next time if Silk Song has a release date,
or if it reveals itself for more than an ROG
at all. All right, so I mean, let's get into the Evo stuff. Obviously, last episode we talked a little bit about Evo, but kind of influenced by Evo, we went on a gigantic, just I don't even know what like a
brainstorming
what you'd call
session.
it, but a tangent on where we pitched our dream fighting games. Um, I can only assume that PlayStation Studios is already working on, the game I pitched. Bethesda's probably, Todd's like, how do we make this happen? Um, about Nick's game.
hmm
But in the meantime, as for games that are already out, Evo has come and gone. And Nick, what are the highlights?
Yeah, so I just grabbed a couple of things that got announced real quick that were intriguing to me. Specifically, there was a trailer for Lucy from Cyberpunk Edge Runners. She's going to be
Hell yeah.
I think the last DLC character for this like season of Guilty Gear Strive. Fun trailer. There's like a cool like moment where it brings up like the hacking like UI from Cyberpunk, and like she like selects different moves and stuff. So there's some cool little fan service nuggets in there. And I mean, Guilty Gear obviously is kind of like an anime fighting game, so the style fits really well with all the other characters in that
100%.
game. So just a fun kind of crossover. Sea Viper is got a little like teaser trailer, which is going to be, I believe, the next Street Fighter 6 character added. Sagat was just recently added into the game, so this will be like our next one to look forward to. Virtua Fighter 6. This is kind of a new game in the Virtua Fighter series, which has been away for a while as far as new entries go. A couple years ago, RGG Studios did like a remaster version of Virtua Fighter 5. And so that was, I feel like a lot of people kind of realized that was kind of like a litmus test to see like how popular like a new game would be. And this got like a little trailer gameplay reveal kind of thing. It was originally revealed at the Game Awards last year, but this time we get like a little extended sequence of two characters fighting in like the training kind of stage, it looks like. So really interesting fluid animations is what I meant to say there. So Virtua Fighter, it's not really one that kind of grabs me, kind of what we were talking about last week, where it's like I kind of need a lot of the like fantastical elements of fighting games to get me interested. So like Virtua Fighter is not really that game for me, but certainly exciting, and it seems like it's going to be pretty high budget, which is cool. And then the only other thing that I really go ahead.
Well, no. Go ahead. You can go for the last one too.
I was just going to say the last thing that really kind of stood out was that there's a bunch of new Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls gameplay out there, and they also announced that you can register for a closed beta that PlayStation's going to be running. So if you are interested in testing that game out a bit, I believe that they have like instructions.
You think you're going to do it?
Posted on their socials. Probably not. I'm more of like an open beta guy. Like I'm not really going to go out of my way to really like
submit. No.
Yeah. Like it's just like, especially if they do like a closed beta and then it's just like a month or two later they have an open beta. It's like I usually don't have any problems waiting for that. I imagine depending on how successful or how many, applications they get for the closed beta, an open beta is probably something that they're going to do at some point. I did watch a little bit of the gameplay though, and it's certainly a flashy fighter. I'll give them that. It looks really cool.
I just wanted to share two of the things that I caught coming out of Evo this past weekend. The first thing is this incredible GIF. All right, I've seen it as a GIF, but there's a compilation, or I'm sure like a full video of it. But essentially, it's after this fight, and this. Look, I get it. This person lost, but it's literally two shots back to back. The first shot is the guy who lost going like he looks like he's in deep pain. He's like. And then it cuts to the guy who won, and the guy who it straight up goes like, and it's beautiful juxtaposition. So that was one, and then there's a new character in Tekken 8. As you know, I've played Tekken 8 in the airport, so I'm pretty much the expert. And this new character named Mieri Zo, I think is what the name is. Mieri Zo. So she's a Madagascar character from Madagascar, and it's making some news, especially apparently in South Africa. It's been on some newspapers that essentially the character is like keeping a centuries old martial art alive by by bringing it to life in the game. Like
Oh
it's
wow.
not something that a lot of people know, but they went there, they went and studied apparently, according to what I've seen from Hatsushiro Harada, obviously, talking just about like the work they put in. So they went there, they stayed there, they studied, and so they created a character that's very kind of faithful to the martial arts from Madagascar. So I thought that was a cool little story coming out of Evo this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd completely missed that, so that's really cool. Alrighty.
And then we have, well, what do you want to go? I'll let you. Actually, you probably want to. I know there's a red octane you want to talk about, so we can probably go there.
Yeah, let's go there. That's some really interesting news. So earlier today, a studio was unveiled, I guess you'll say. But they might sound a little bit familiar, and that's Red Octane Games. And essentially, what this is it's a studio formed by former Guitar Hero developers and producers, and they are a studio that are going to be primarily focused on developing rhythm games. They said it's not Guitar Hero, so don't get your hopes up. But they are working on their debut game, and they are planning to announce it at some point this year. So, not a whole lot of specific information, but Red Octane is, I believe, I'm trying to remember exactly. Red Octane's definitely like a known name. Like, I think they were the producers of the original guitar controllers for Guitar Hero. And so, like, this, I guess, is like a game development arc, maybe. I'm not 100% up to date on my lore for this company, but rhythm games, obviously, I'm a big fan. I've played a lot of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and we were just talking about, like, Dead as Disco and my love of Hi-Fi Rush, so I'm always going to keep an eye out for different kinds of rhythm games, especially if they can do something to kind of shake up the formula or combine it with a different genre, something like that. Like, we have that Luminous game coming from the Tetris Effect team, where it's a, rhythm puzzle game, rhythm action game, like Hi-Fi Rush or whatever. So I'll definitely be very intrigued to see what this team is kind of cooking up. I don't know if you've seen anything from this particular creator, but there's a creator that I watched a couple months ago called Asai, and he's kind of like a Guitar Hero streamer, essentially. And I saw that he is a advisor for this company. So I guess they're reaching out to people in the community specifically as well to kind of steer the ship with what they're doing over there.
Yeah. So just for some context, because I found it interesting, Red Octane existed before, obviously for Guitar Hero and stuff. But Red Octane actually closed in February of 2010. So they were bought in 2006. They were bought by Activision, I believe, is what it is. And then 2010 they shut down. This is not Red Octane. This is Red Octane Games. So they're bringing this essentially the same name, but they're bringing it back. But yeah, from the kind of the veteran developers behind DJ Hero and Guitar Hero. So very interesting. Best of luck to Red Octane, because I hope that no evil acquisition looms in their future.
Yeah,
no big checks from Microsoft.
The other thing that I am curious about with the pedigree and the history here is, does this come with a peripheral controller, like a guitar controller or a DJ turntable? I suppose that depends on what kind of game it is. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I think that will it just be a limited time mode on Fortnite? Yeah, there's been a rise and a desire, I feel, over the last couple years specifically, for like kind of a return to that. Clone Hero, if you're familiar with that, has been like extremely popular in the PC kind of modding end, to the point that third-party companies like TTX and companies like that have been producing new guitar controllers specifically to
Guitars.
use on like newer consoles and PC and stuff, specifically for the Fortnite festival, like you mentioned, also. So I would be curious to see if it would be like another crack at like bringing, this is the spiritual successor to Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and see if there actually is a big enough audience that would buy into that.
Actually, I'll throw this in there, just out of complete randomness. I was thinking about this movie I watched earlier, I think last month. It's called Heads of State. It's on Prime. It's not sponsored, but it stars John Cena, Idris Elba, Priyanka Chopra, and it is a action comedy. It's directed by Ilya Naishuller. And so I was kind of thinking about this movie, and I was like, oh, what has that director done in the past? So I went on IMDb, I looked him up, and I was going through their history. And so the two big things that movie buffs will probably know him from is the that first person shooter movie, like hardcore Henry. Those like the whole movies in first person.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one more recently is Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk Saul movie,
Gotcha.
where he's like kicking ass. But then Nick, all right, in his credits, just last year, he worked as a motion capture director on Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl.
Oh, wow.
Very surprising. Was not expecting a video game credit in there. So, there's a little fun fact for you. Anyway, back to the news. We got well, first of all, the other big thing we've been talking about for the last two episodes, and it's going to be a 3-episode streak, Battlefield. They did their whole Battlefield showcase last week. Nick, did you tune in at all, or like, what was your?
I did not tune into the full showcase, but I did catch the little like trailers that they put out for showcasing the multiplayer and the different like class structure kind of stuff that they got going on.
Yeah. So I did watch a little bit of it live. I had a lot of things going on when it was happening, but I will say, and I really feel that this is a lost art. I think the death of E3 has been a huge part of this. But there's a certain kind of, Nick, dare I say, romance in the way that like the game industry should work, right? In an ideal world, like the in this, let's keep the formula very simple, right? In this relationship that's about to happen, that is a business relationship, the gamers are like they're the desirables. Like we're the ones that like we should be kind of swooned and kind of seduced. And I think that studios have to put on a show. Like a bird, like a bird has to do like some nice colors and big dancing to get the people in, right? And I feel like like studios don't do that. Like Call of Duty is like, yeah, well, we can fucking, we can give you the finger and you still buy the game anyway. So like, what's the point? But like, I appreciate that because of the fact that Battlefield is on the back foot. Like they know, like, oh, we fucked up last time. We have to do it good this time.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, let's go all out. So they like set up like multiple go live events at the same time, and they were streaming it, and like a whole bunch of content creators were flown out to like be there. By the way, almost all of them are terrible streams because it's like one person is like, you're watching it and then like there's just like 50 other voices in the background, like, oh my God, like just fucking yelling. But in theory, it's so cool. And also I love the presentation of it. I mean, it's very evident, but like it starts off and like they're on the stage, they're kind of like, hey, like, this is we're excited to show you Battlefield, and they like show off a little bit of the map, and then they're like like almost like you're watching an IMAX movie, but they're like, hold on, this isn't Battlefield. This isn't the Battlefield scale. Let's bring it up. And then the screen slowly rises, and then it essentially encompasses the audience because there's like a screen above them too.
Oh, weird.
And then like jets will fly by in the above them, and like the sound effects will kind of play. It was they put on a show, and I appreciate that. EA, I'm seeing you. I'm seeing your fancy colors. we'll have to see if the game lives up to it. But as of now, what they're showing is promising. Like everything, like they're doing everything as they should, right? Like the classes are back as they are. They're promising that they're not going to like have a weird ass characters and like cartoon characters running around the map. Like it's, dare I say, a little bit positive.
Yeah, after watching the trailers, the thing that I took away walking away from those trailers is that this is definitely the follow-up to Battlefield 3 and 4 that people have been asking for a long time. It feels very DNA connected to those games. Heavy emphasis on destruction. Like every single shot of every trailer that they put out is like there's some building or blowing up or glass shattering or something like that. There's also some really intriguing new additions to the gameplay, like being able to like drag a downed teammate while you're reviving them. I think is really cool, so that you don't just have to go out and revive them in the middle of a firefight, which has been like a constant issue with Battlefield forever. Like they even, I saw in the one shot, they have like these retractable ladders that you can set up to get to like different levels of buildings and stuff. It's like such a...
And you can put it on other things too. Like you can put it on a car and then like go to a higher like window or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's little things like that like I wouldn't have thought would make much a difference, or I didn't think that I wanted, but then you see it and it's like, oh yeah, that probably changes up the dynamics of how this game goes. No more can like somebody post up in a stairwell and just watch the stairs when you have the threat of like, a ladder just coming out of the window to the side of you.
Yeah.
So yeah, some really cool stuff. And I also want to highlight the sound design. They sounds like they are going absolute crazy with the sound design. Like I was watching some gameplay of it, and the jets specifically, like doing a flyby or whatever, like it's like, whoa, that sounds like not to be cliche and like nerdy, but it's like sounds like I'm there. Like that's what a jet sounds like when it flies by. Like, so yeah. Visually looks really impressive. Gameplay, I think it looks like they are hitting the boxes that people want. So I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting for me to get hands on with the game over the next 2 weeks, because it feels like I had this conversation with Austin on stream over the weekend, but he went back from all the excitement with Battlefield 6 and he installed 2042, and he was like, wow, this moves very slowly. And he says that especially because he's been playing a lot of Warzone. And I think that Battlefield 6, just at the very base level that we're analyzing the gameplay that we're seeing, it feels like it's a median between both the old Battlefields and then like Black Ops 6, where it has certain kind of movement features, like the fact that you can dive backwards and like, you can like scoop backwards and kind of keep firing. Like that stuff that active, like it's crazy that was not already a feature in first person shooters. I'm glad we can finally get there, because it makes it so much more interesting of like being able to like back up, literally scoot yourself back as you're shooting. Is it makes the way you control your character different, and the way you can dive and everything like that. But it doesn't have the tactical, it doesn't have this. It's still got this. And so they're walking that line very finely. And so I'm curious to see if that speed of gameplay actually kind of carries through, because I feel like if it's still, with all the changes and the pacing of it seemingly so kind of cranked up, if it still moves the same way as 2042, I would feel like I was a little bit too slow. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll share first impressions probably next week once we are able to play it, because there's open betas throughout the weekend, next 2 weeks.
I didn't mention it in the what we've been playing, but I also went back to a little bit of 2042 recently with a buddy of mine, and I think part of the slowness with that game is that the maps feel way bigger than what the actual gameplay can facilitate. It's like so many of them, there's a lot of like points of interest to like fight over in Conquest or whatever, but it feels like there's just massive amounts of space between those points, that even when you're playing with like 128 players or whatever, that it's like it's not actually,
you're not seeing any action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe contributes to like even though you're running for like 5 minutes straight, you're just not getting into the action. Like seemingly this game at least from the trailers, it looks like it's a lot better about getting you into action a lot quicker.
Yeah. And also the last thing I'll kind of quickly shout out from what they've shown so far is that they have Portal mode, but it is like Portal mode on steroids. This thing is essentially running on Godot, which is a whole, engine on its own. But like you can change fundamental aspects of the game. Like I think one of the examples they gave is that you can like turn it into like a top-down shooter. Like if you wanted to, like you could make a top-down version of Battlefield 6. Like just the options that they have available, and like some of the stuff that they've said that they've internally messed around with, that you can only imagine that the community, assuming this game clicks, can create some crazy ones. That will be exciting to see.
Whereas in 2042, Portal kind of felt like just like modifiers almost on like custom maps. This feels more like, Battlefield's version of Halo Forge or something, where you can just like make levels and like make unique gameplay experiences. So I think that'll be really interesting to really poke around with this time around, especially.
Yeah. To get 5, like, there's like the endless replayability because you can just make like races and stuff in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there'll be some good races in Battlefield 6 to look out for. Now, speaking of things to look out for, not BioShock. So BioShock remake, which was apparently in the works, has apparently been shelved. No further production is currently ongoing with that. And on top of that, BioShock 4, which by the way, I'll quickly say regarding BioShock remake, I feel like that's not a huge loss. I mean, obviously it sucks that the team that was working on it no longer has that work, but I don't think it's like I feel like if you want to play BioShock, you can play the re-releases that they had a few years ago for PS4 and Xbox One and get a pretty good experience out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But BioShock 4, the kind of long-awaited sequel, or I guess reboot, right? Or is it a reboot or a sequel?
Nobody knows.
I guess we don't know. We don't really know anything about this game. But BioShock 4, the eventual next one, is rebooting its narrative after failing publisher review. So it's kind of back to square one for that as well, or square zero.
Yeah.
Whatever the saying is.
Basically, Jason Schreier kind of broke this news earlier this week, and obviously I'm a huge BioShock fan, and it, like you said, news on BioShock 4 have been radio silent for years, and aside from potential leaks, like there has maybe been leaks, like unsubstantiated essentially, with like screenshots and stuff of this new game, there's been like no information about it. And so specifically it was comments about the narrative that were needing more focus and refinement. So that's a bit concerning as a BioShock fan, because the narrative is a big part of those games, and you really want to nail that if you're putting the BioShock name on it. I mean, BioShock 2 is a great game. I enjoy it a lot, but it's a pretty widely held opinion among fans that it's not, narratively speaking, to the same level of BioShock 1 or Infinite. And yeah, I hope that this means that like it's not just like a complete dumpster fire when it comes out. Like it's been in development for so long. Like whenever you hear news about this, it's just like, I really hope that this is for the better, and not just like it just makes you wonder, like what is this version that we're not going to get now, and like what was so bad about it that the publishers were like, no, this needs to change.
Yeah, would love to see the eventual no clip of like this was the pitch that we initially had, and
the one thing I
hopefully
will say
some iteration of that comes out
about BioShock remake, or like this remaster, whatever it was going to be, that does disappoint me. I was watching, I forget who it was specifically, but somebody said that they could see it as like the Dead Space remake angle, where by and large most of it is a similar experience, but you cut out all the loading screens that you have between areas,
Sure.
and you can just kind of make it like a seamless like environment to explore and stuff. And once I heard that, I was like, oh man, that would be like a great way to improve like it. And like there's some things that happen towards the end of the game that I think famously can be tweaked and changed a little bit. So like there's definitely areas where that game could improve, but like you said, that first one is still one of my top 5 games of all time. So it's like it's still easily playable these days.
Yeah. Now, I think that is all that we have on the news list. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's take a break. Let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back to discuss or actually not just our favorites. We're going to discuss all the games that were announced at the Nintendo Partner Showcase and the THQ Showcase.
Yeah, I want to get down there just in case. Like, I don't know what it does yet, so just in case it takes a bit of time. I want to give us plenty of time to do it.
Yeah.
Is it one of the, okay, that's an Evertrail. Okay.
Alright, I opened it.
Oh,
Oh,
shit!
it summoned a fucking dog!
And we are back for some more game discussion. This time, talking about all of the games that were announced during last week's Nintendo Partner Showcase and THQ's Digital Showcase. Both had some interesting announcements, and I think I had a preference of one over the other, and the result might shock you. So, without further ado, we'll kind of hit them in order. So, we'll start with Nintendo. Nick, let's take it from the top. Let's run through the show. We're only going to spend time on the ones that actually caught our eye, or we have something like that are on our wish list, right? Like those are the ones we want to focus on. But for the sake of your own knowledge, we'll go through all of them.
Yeah. So, in case we didn't say specifically, this Nintendo Direct was a partner showcase, so primarily focused on third-party games. But there's a couple of the like borderline first-party stuff in here as well, such as Monster Hunter Stories 3: Twisted Reflection. This is kind of, well, it is the third entry in the Monster Hunter Stories franchise or sub-franchise, however you describe that. It's available on a bunch of other stuff as well, but like it seems like Nintendo kind of is the place that these Stories games usually pop up at. So I'm personally not a huge Monster Hunter guy. I'm not sure about you, Sri, but these games, like, they look nice, but this is gonna go past me, unfortunately.
Yeah, me neither, man. And like I was just organizing my 3DS games, and I have, I think, Monster Hunter Generations on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I was like going through the eShop again, sifting through all the hentai, and I found that there's like I guess there's a version of Monster Hunter Generation for the Switch, which was interesting. Again, Monster Hunter is one of those franchises I want to get to, maybe just to try one of them. I have not found the one that really calls to me that I'm like, this is the one that I have to play. So until then, we'll keep looking, but this one doesn't seem to be the one for me. Stories 3.
What about Once Upon a Katamari? A brand new Katamari game, the first one in a while, because they've been on that remaster train for the last couple.
Yeah.
I've not personally played much Katamari. It's funny because in high school, my friends would make fun of me, saying that my favorite game was Beautiful Katamari on the Xbox 360. None of us played that game, and like I think we just saw it in like a Game Pro or a Game Informer, and they're like, that looks dumb. Yeah, that's Nick's favorite game or whatever. Like, it was a stupid thing. But to this day, now that we're all older and just look back on it and laugh at it, I have bought Beautiful Katamari. Like, I have that on my shelf. I've not played it yet, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a try at some point. So, to get back on topic of Once Upon a Katamari, it looks interesting. I feel like the gameplay in these games doesn't really change that much throughout the years. You're still just rolling a big ball of stuff together, and I guess that must be a winning formula because there's a ton of games in this series now at this point, and I guess the remasters did well enough to kind of fund a brand new game. So cool to see that, but that again, it's another one that like I'm probably not going to be picking up for a while.
Yeah, no, I've known about the Katamari games, obviously, but none of them have really spoken to me. This one's not it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks, I'm sure like that the Katamari community is excited, but this one was okay. No.
But what is
Move
going to
on.
get your attention is Just Dance 2026. Ubisoft showed up at a Nintendo showcase, finally.
Yeah, they didn't have a live dance performance, which was unfortunate. But man, I said about it like what 2 months ago at this point that I felt Ubisoft's presence or lack of their presence at the Summer Game Fest, and I'm glad we have a little bit of an inkling here with Just Dance. Some bangers in there, though. I will say some bangers, and also I did lie earlier. I have also been playing Just Dance on my Nintendo Switch too. That is another. Actually, I don't know what. Hold on. I'll give you a. I don't remember which one. I'm gonna say 2020. Hold on. Damn, you nailed it. Just Dance 2022. That's the one. So I've been playing that, but yeah, the All Star. I mean, you got some great games in there, or great songs in there. Counting Stars by One Republic. I mean, damn.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played a Just Dance game. Maybe once,
Nick,
but
we got to change that. We have to change that. It's a great workout, man.
I've
Great
played
workout.
DDR, but yeah, Just Dance.
Sure.
I think was a little bit past my dancing game phase.
It's really accessible nowadays because I haven't played it back in the day, or I haven't played it since like way back when. And so going back to it now, you can use like if you're playing on the Switch, you can use a Joy-Con and like one person hold like so two people can play with just the Joy-Cons.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also just download the Just Dance app and you don't have to use it. You can just hold your phone and then do it that way too. So
Gotcha.
very accessible.
All
right. Next game.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. The first of the our theorized ports to Switch 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did also theorize that there would be a Ubisoft game, not Just Dance.
Yeah.
We had other predictions, but Ubisoft announcement.
Yeah, I'd say there's a bit of a gulf between Just Dance and Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Arguable. But no, all right, so Dragon Ball, man, again, there's not enough time in the day. I would love to go through all of Dragon Ball. I've heard that essentially in these games you can go through like the series, like stuff in the game, in the shows, but then like switch up who's who and like stuff like that to kind of have your own versions of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like you'd appreciate that more if you watched the show and like what actually happened. And since I don't have that, I've been staying away from these games. So it's a real loop of stuff. But eventually I do want to watch Dragon Ball and maybe I'll get to one of these games. Unless people tell me that, you can just play the game and get the same stuff out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only real like story that I have about these types of games is in like second grade. I went to like a friend's house that had one of the Budokai games on Wii, I think. And like I played it there, but like that's my only experience with these kind of Dragon Ball 3D fighting games. Yeah, definitely not something that I really have much attachment to, unfortunately.
Well, do you have some nostalgia, perhaps? Maybe not an attachment, but some nostalgia for Plants versus Zombies?
This one's
replanted?
A really interesting one because I saw this trailer and I was like, oh, Plants vs. Zombies. But then I keep seeing a lot of people online and just like out in public being like, yo, they're remastering Plants vs. Zombies. And I was like, was it really that much of like a cultural touchstone? Like I knew like Angry Birds kind of hit like really high and stuff, but like maybe I just wasn't tapped into the Plants vs. Zombies community. It kind of surprised me how many people are like jazzed about Plants vs. Zombies coming back. I guess in the not Garden Warfare version.
Yeah, no. It's hey, it's more Plants vs. Zombies. I'm glad, you can experience this on the Switch 2, fully utilize that Switch 2 power. And it does have PvP with like just Joy-Cons, which is cool. Zombies on one side.
Fully
Plants on
utilize
the
the
other.
Switch 2 to play a remastered version of a iPhone 1
mobile
game.
Yeah. Yeah. After that, we have obviously another port. I think, right? This is another port. I think it's already
Pretty
out.
much,
But
yeah.
it's EA Sports FC 26. I know some of the FC's already been out, so it's pretty much a port. Once it's it's the same thing. Um, it's a sports game. I don't have
Yep.
any. Yeah, I don't have any interest in that one. Uh, Mildly interesting comparatively is Pac-Man World Repack.
Pac-Man
So
World
Pac-Man's
2
back.
repack.
Sorry,
specific.
Pac-Man World 2. Yeah.
I've never played these games, but I feel like they have like kind of a cult following. They're Pac-Man 3D platformers, essentially, is my understanding with that. And
Yeah.
more so than being excited about this game, I was more so surprised at being like, oh, the first one sold well enough that they're doing 2 now. Like, because
Sure, yeah.
I feel like the first repack one like kind of came and went. Like it released, people talked about it, and then I haven't heard a single thing about it since. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just a highly dedicated audience that they have that'll buy that.
This one's out September 26th. It does look interesting. It also has local co-op where you can control like a little a robot thing next to Pac-Man as he's playing. So it's sort of like the Donkey Kong Bonanza where like Pauline, or no, is it Pauline, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Pauline's like on Donkey Kong's shoulder. It's similar effect, I think, but
Mm-hmm.
there's that. Then we have, this makes total sense, an easy prediction, Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yep.
I think we've already talked about Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, when it was first announced.
Mm-hmm.
I think during the Summer Game Fest or something. So I don't know if we have much else to say about it. Do you?
Not really. I am curious about this game. I have the PS1 version of it, and then I also have the PSP version, which is called like War of the Lions, which like added new content. But I feel like this new remaster remake, the Ivalice Chronicles, I feel like I've heard somewhere that like some of that content isn't included, and it's more closely the PS1 game. So
Okay.
I feel like Square's a little bit weird with a lot of their remasters and like not including content from other games. Case in point, the next game, Persona 3 Reload. Like I feel like there's Persona 3, there's Persona 3 FES, Persona 3 Portable, and then Reload. And I feel like each version has like exclusive content that's not in any of the other ones. So
That's how you get.
I mean, I guess
that's how
not
you keep getting them to buy everything.
Persona's not Square. That's Sega and Atlas, unfortunately. But like same kind of thing. It's like weird when you get those PSP and Vita versions of stuff in there, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Cool to see.
But I will say, to our credit, that we were wrong about the game, but Atlas and Sega did have a game. Obviously, Persona 3. We guessed Metaphor Refantasio, but this one's cool. Again, it makes total sense for a game like this to be on like something like the Switch, where you can chip away at it at your comfort. You can lay on the couch or wait for a bus. I don't know, like whatever situation you have. You have the options to dip your toe in and get out, which I think is the best way to play a game that's as massive as the Persona games.
Yeah, I want to play Reload at some point. I've really only dabbled in the Persona 5 era of games, so it's like 4 and 3 I've heard such great things about, and now that they're pretty much just remaking them in the 5 like gameplay engine, like it's my time to go back to those games. It's just finding the time to be able to actually go and sink some time into it. But yeah, great that it's getting onto another platform with Switch 2.
Next up, we have Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. This, it's a Warriors game set it's a prequel, I believe, to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Right? This is a branch.
This is Tears of the Kingdom. So it's
okay.
It's kind of a prequel, kind of based on how the narrative of Tears of the Kingdom works. It's kind of a prequel, but also kind of happening at the same time as a certain part of the game.
I see.
I wish I was more interested in this than I am.
Yep.
Same here. I'm a huge Zelda fan, obviously. I've played pretty much every game in the series, and like I played the first Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U. that has like a definitive version on Switch and everything. But I didn't play Age of Calamity, which was the Breath of the Wild Hyrule Warriors, and just like the gameplay, I get what they're going for with these games. I've played, like I said, Hyrule Warriors. I've played Persona 5 Strikers, which is the Persona 5, Musou game and everything. And I just don't think, for me specifically, the spectacle of fighting hundreds of enemies at the same time, but with kind of like lackluster gameplay, is enough to really carry a full game. Like, the games are always like fun in bite-sized chunks, but I feel like they are stretched out with these big properties like Zelda or Persona, and so it just ends up being like a really long game that feels kind of bloated, because it really is the epitome of just walk forward and slash for a half an hour.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't know. I've never been into one of the Warrior games. I played like a demo of it back in the day. I was like, oh, this is mildly fun, but I think it worked perfectly in that demo. And like that was exactly how much I wanted to play it.
And also, like, with this specifically being Zelda and like Tears of the Kingdom, like, I already in my review that you can read on respawnstation.com have issues with the narrative of Tears of the Kingdom. And so the idea of like it being like, oh, this is canon, it's like, this is like more story. It's like, I don't really care about the story in this game, if I'm being honest. Like, it was the weakest part of the experience, I think, for me. So yeah, the one thing that like is kind of like, oh, this is why you pay attention to Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. It's like, I don't really care. So it's like, if I can't get the story or the gameplay on my side, then yeah, like I said, I wish I cared more, but I just don't.
Do you care more about EA Sports, Madden, NFL 26? It's in the game. Give us your money again, you bitch. Sorry.
You know what?
The rest was all asterisk.
Bring on Hyrule Warriors, man. I played one NCAA football game on the original Xbox one time because it was a pack-in game and I was bored one day as a kid. I wanted to try something different. The yearly release sports games, like, they might as well not even exist for me specifically.
Yeah, they're not on my radar at all. The next came by haps one of the weirdest announcements coming out of this partner showcase. They had a whole like 2-minute sequence for Chillin' by the Fire, which is from Oink Games. And they really showcased the level of depth that with which this game allows you to make a fire and chill by it, because they also have like they have one of the first games that I've seen that's not like a Nintendo first party title that implements the webcam, so you can have your friends' faces gigantic on next to the fires, just like just like you love in real life. Man, what a weird
I don't want to commit to anything because it's going to be entirely too much of a money investment, but could you imagine an episode of the Respawn Station podcast filmed entirely on Chillin' by the Fire?
Oh man,
we have the consoles at this point. It would just be the overly expensive cameras.
Yeah, no, I believe you can just get certain USB-C cameras and use them, right?
I think you're right. Works. Yeah, but that's the one shot though that you mentioned, the webcam functionality, where it's like pretty much the trailer to that point is just like, okay, yeah, we're building a fire, like we're stacking sticks and making fire, and then they cut to a shot with all the weird and it's not even like the webcam stuff is like on a body or anything. It's just like it's just floating.
It's a giant
image. What a wild game. Yeah, I feel like this is probably the epitome of this partner showcase for me, where it's like as I'm sure listeners can probably hear, I feel like this was one of the weaker partner directs specifically, like, and this like it was a shadow drop, so it's available today, so that it's kind of exciting. And
wait, it's oh shit, I honestly I blocked it out.
Yeah,
but that's crazy.
It's just a weird game, man, and a weird direct.
Yeah, available later today. Holy shit. I agree. I agree with your sentiment as well. We'll touch on it more because Nick, we gotta keep moving to Apex Legends, baby. That's right. The game was out on the Switch initially, but it looks so much better on the Switch too.
Looks like it's supposed to
compared
look
to
like.
yeah. So yeah, honestly, it's cool. I don't necessarily like. I still feel like the size of the Joy-Con thumbsticks. I don't know how I'd feel about playing like a first-person shooter like Apex on it, but I think eventually, if I have some time, I don't even have Nintendo Switch Online, so it would be useless for me, I think. But eventually, if I ever pick it up, I'd be curious to try it out. Have you played any of them? Any of Apex on Switch One?
Not on Switch One, no. I play it
Okay.
in phases. Whenever like we get into like our multiplayer kind of kick and we want to play something that like everybody has together and doesn't have to pay anything extra for, we'll usually throw into Apex. And
Sure.
yeah, it's kind of funny because it's like I don't know where I was going with that. That thought just completely exited my head. But yeah, Apex, I think it's a nice addition to have. I kind of to your point, like I think you would want a pro controller or something to play like that, that specific type of experience versus just on Joy-Cons. But
and I ain't paying $90 for a pro controller yet, and I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's cool to see it. Not entirely surprising. You might not even need Switch Online for that because I don't think you need Switch Online to play Fortnite on Switch.
Oh,
so if it's a free to play game, you might not have to. But I feel like
I need to get back on Fortnite because Power Rangers are on it now. So
nice.
Fortnite's cool again. All right, next game is Hella. So this one's interesting. I have a soft spot for games that have mice in them. But the thing is, I think it looked a little underwhelming visually in this. Just because it's running on the Switch 2, I'm guessing, right? Is this a Switch 2 exclusive? I forget what the banner was at the start.
I'm not sure.
Let me actually go look. Yeah, Switch 2 exclusive, physical and digital edition. It's from My Games, but we did get the press release for this, and this game is so it's the highly acclaimed debut game from the creators of the Unravel series. And it's set to launch on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. And I feel like the gameplay or the game would look hopefully a little bit better on those consoles. But
now
nonetheless,
that you say
it did catch my interest.
Like art direction wise, I could see that being from the Unravel team. Like,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, there's a certain kind of quality to it, I suppose. Yeah,
I don't know if they make those on Unreal Engine or not, but it kind of has like that visual look, but with like a little bit of a not like photoreal, but like they're going for like a more realistic like kind of art style.
I know.
With it.
Then Ubisoft came back. That's right, the dancing panda came back, and it said, "Hey, Star Wars Outlaws is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2." Nick, you've played it. I think earlier this year we've had a whole that was the game that he was currently all hot and bothered about. So you can go back to episode 1 or 2, maybe, I think, right?
Something like that.
To go hear his thoughts on that. But Star Wars Outlaws, it's cool. That it actually looks decent running on, especially in the close quarter stuff. Like, I think some of the open world, kind of large scale stuff, it maybe falls a little bit flat in. But by and large, I mean, just getting these kind of games running portably is crazy. So
yeah,
looks pretty good. I don't know if this is how I'll play it. I think I'd personally play it on like a PS5 again. But for those of you who are, or not you, but like for those just gamers who are Switch exclusives, this is your first time to play it. There's not a bad port of it. Then, perhaps the most surprising game that I saw here was Chronos: The New Dawn, the new game from Bloober Team. They had just like a week or two ago before this showed off gameplay, and man, they got this thing running on the Switch too. Looks decent. I mean, you got a little look at some of the spooks and the puzzles. Is this one you'd play on Switch 2 at all? Like, consider?
No. If I'm getting this, I want it on my PS5 or like a nicer rig to really kind of squeeze everything out of the visuals for this type of game. But I always like seeing games like this pop up in Nintendo Directs because I like seeing how they choose to edit the footage and cut around a lot of the gruesome, like, violent stuff. Yeah. And like you can definitely tell when you watch this trailer, it's like they cut like as soon as
right as like the thing's about to happen. It's like, oh yeah, no, no.
Yeah. It always a fun kind of thing to see. I am looking forward to this game though.
I agree.
If EA is not going to go after Dead Space remakes or new games after that first one, I feel like Bloober Team does have an opportunity here to like kind of swoop in and be like, hey,
I agree.
They're not going to give you what you want, so come check out this game over here.
Chronos, the new Dawn, September 5th, 2025, coming up soon. Then we have, unsurprisingly, we have two more Yakuza games, Yakuza Kiwami 2 and Yakuza Kiwami 1. Oh, so 1 and 2. So you got both Yakuza Kiwami games. This is cool. I honestly think that these games like run pretty well. And I think this is, I will say, one of the few times where a game of this scale, I would be okay with it on the Switch because it's so massive you can kind of chip away at it, similar to the Persona. But, you can go in, do a little bit of karaoke or whatnot. But man, again, we've talked about it several times on the podcast. Yakuza's got to be coming up at some point of like, one of us will just be like, all right, I've had enough of this. This is my time, and just dive into it. But until then, will that be on the Switch too? Who knows? But until then, and it's a Switch 2 exclusive, by the way. I don't know if it's out on Switch 1, but there you go. Yakuza Kiwami.
I think the Kiwami 1, is on Switch 1 already. But I think it's like a Switch 2 port, which is why it was like a weird footnote at the end there.
Yeah, because it's like packed in to Switch. Like I think if you buy the digital bundle, that it comes with the first one as well, so you can get both of them. All right. Then we have a short little montage coming up. All right, so then we got Goodnight Universe coming out November 11th. NBA Bounce, which kind of looks it looks fine. It looked probably the most accessible sports game that on this list that I would have been like, all right, I'll play that sometime.
It's like 2D, like NBA Jam style. I feel like they try every couple years to bring a game like this back. But
right.
Yeah, I unlike the what was I talking about? Unlike the Apex crowd or like the crowd that are going for different ports of games here, like I'm not sure that there's a crowd really for these type of games anymore.
We have Hello Kitty Island Adventure Wheat Flower Wonderland. What a fucking title. I remember reading that and going like, excuse me, what flower? Wheat flower? And then we have Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven. I've never played one of these games, but I've always thought that the title was super interesting. We talked about it earlier, so we're not going to talk about it much again, but Shinobi Art of Vengeance, August 29th, later this year. Somehow, if you're watching this and you haven't watched the first part of the episode, go back. You missed it. Nick talked about that one. Borderlands 4, not bad, honestly. But, I mean, I think the other Borderlands games are also on the Switch 1, so it looks good. Again, I don't know if it's one that I would play ideally on the Switch, but it's a port that if you only have a Switch 2 that you can play with. All right, let's take a breather, all right? This is where the partner showcase punch me in the balls, all right? Essentially, it goes, here's two final games, and they're like, this is the two final games. And Nick, I'll give you, because Nick and I didn't watch the showcase together, and we didn't really talk about, I think, immediate reactions. But I went in, and so this trailer started playing. We didn't know what this game was. It was like a new HD 2D adventure, and I was looking, going, oh, Square Enix, they're doing another one of those Octopath Traveler games, huh? This is Octopath Traveler 3 or something? And no. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, the Millennium Tales. So it's all new HD 2D adventure set in a whole new world, new protagonist with like real-time action, not like turn-based or anything. And then the second game that they unveil is another HD 2D action RPG, and I'm like, oh, it's Octopath Traveler 3. Nope. It's Octopath Traveler 0, which I'm not entirely sure. Some the diehard fans might tell me better, but I believe from the word on the street, Octopath Traveler 0 is actually like a previously available version of Project Octopath Traveler that they're essentially fleshing out and building back into this console release. I think it might have been a mobile game. So
weird.
Yeah. So all that to say, that did not care about either of those. I mean, look, I want to play one HD 2D game that Square Enix makes eventually, but just to have it be those was like a real it was an okay showcase so far, and then I was like, all right, yeah, this could have been an email.
Yeah. I like the HD 2D style, and I think the Adventures of Elliot being an action game and not a turn-based combat game is more appealing to me specifically, because it feels like it's like an HD 2D version of like a classic Zelda, or like you played Ys a couple months ago, and like those kind of games I think would benefit from the HD 2D style. So it's cool to see them breaking from the turn-based kind of mold from Octopath. But yeah, having both of them back to back was certainly a choice as like the ending announcements. And like, I know Octopath Traveler is big, so like I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, like the Adventures of Elliot, like I don't love that name. I don't think a lot of people love that name. And like it's also, looking at it, like it looks like an HD 2D game in that like it looks like all those other Octopath Traveler games, like you said. Like I feel like it's not really doing a whole lot to really differentiate itself style wise from those other games. Something that like you would expect maybe them to maybe take it in like a little bit different direction, especially if it's going to be a different style of game to those games. But yeah, if you were to put both of those games side to side and tell somebody to guess which is which, like I don't know if you could.
Yeah.
Like,
and just to confirm, I did not want to lie to the people, and I was correct. So Octopath Traveler 0 is a retelling and a reworked version of the mobile game Champions of the Continent. It's a free-to-play role-playing game that came out in 2020, and so they're building that out for a console release.
I've never even heard of Champions of the Continent. That's mobile's weird.
Well, Nick,
dude.
you've had 5 years to play it, pal, and it's too late now. Now it's relegated to the end of a Nintendo Switch Direct, and to the point where people are like, "Whoa, it's a new Octopath Traveler game," because that's how little people knew about this mobile game apparently.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a showcase. As you can tell, we were a little bit underwhelmed by it. Nothing really kind of made it like, for me, nothing here was like, oh, I have to add this to my wish list. That wasn't already announced. You know what I mean? Like, obviously Chronos, I had my eye on, but that's not a result of this. I think probably the closest thing that gets to getting my vote of like, oh, I want to check that out is Hella, the mouse game, and also obviously Just Dance, but that's not anytime soon. That'll be like eventually whenever I'm whenever I find it on sale, I'll go check that out. But yeah, all right, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this was definitely like an underwhelming one for me as well. Like I'm in the same kind of boat. It's like a lot of announcements that are like, oh, that's kind of neat that they're doing that, but like it's not something that specifically speaks to anything that I want to go out and like I'm dying to play.
Well, Nick, did you see the THQ showcase?
Sort of. I did watch it,
okay,
but it was when I was in bed on the verge of going to sleep. So like some of these I might not have fully seen, but like I did watch the showcase.
So I watched the showcase. It's like 30 minutes long, and honestly, I had a good time with it because there's a good kind of blend of content. It was paced really well. It was actually 10 minutes longer, or a few minutes longer, not 10 minutes longer. It was a few minutes longer than the Nintendo showcase, but I was totally fine with it. Not to say that every game on here is like, oh yeah, I have to play this, but there was enough variety where I was excited for it. So let's just jump in. First off, we predicted it last week, and damn right, we nailed it. SpongeBob game announced. This is the Tide of the Titans, I believe, but they had Titans of the Tide reversed. I knew it was a T game, it was a TT. But yeah, from THQ Nordic coming to PS5, Xbox Series XS, PC, and Switch 2. This is another 3D platformer where it's a slightly different art style. But by the way, they had a whole like freaking weird musical number with David Hasselhoff, which is kind of crazy to just throw in there. A weird pull.
Yeah, I wonder if that's in the game or if that was only for the trailer. Because like it definitely felt like it was a trailer thing, but like again, to your point, like you got David Hasselhoff just for the trailer, and you're not going to use him in the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So, what do you think of this one? Was this?
I'm intrigued by this one. It kind of puts me in a tough place because I played the Battle for Bikini Bottom remaster. I played recently the Cosmic Shake, which you also played, and I enjoy those games as a SpongeBob fan, but like I don't think they're like amazing, right? Like they're definitely like, 7 or 8 out of 10, I'd say. Like they're good and it's good fun to have, but like they're maybe not as tight as I would want out of like a 3D platformer, and a lot of the writing or the jokes kind of lean more into like, as you would expect, like the newer era of SpongeBob. So it's like I think it's cool, and I think if you're going to be putting out a SpongeBob game and you want the most amount of people possible interested in it, like 3D platformer is where you go. So I think that they're making a lot of good choices with that, but at the same time, it's like right after playing Cosmic Shake, it's like, I don't know if I'm really ready to hop back into another one of those games. But again, it's another like cool thing that it's like cool that they're still selling well enough to be able to keep making these.
I agree. That's coming out November 18th. You can pre-order now to, I think, get like their butt cheeks as a skin. Or
I
like
did
that,
see that. That was wild. It's like, what a pre-order bonus. You get naked SpongeBob and Patrick.
Yeah. Then they had a kind of an extended preview of that another Tides game, but this one Tides of Tomorrow. And this one we actually talked about during Summer Game Fest. I don't have much else to say about it, but this gave a little bit more clarity, and I'm still looking forward to this one. Honestly, did not remember that this was THQ, so it came up and I was like, oh shit, this, sure, go for it. Do you have anything else catch your eye? I mean, they did show a little bit more of the world and the kind of the design. I think maybe people were a little bit confused, so they wanted to explain some things. So
yeah, my hype meter on it hasn't really changed. Like I'm intrigued about it. I think the visual design is pretty interesting, but I feel like when we talked about it during Summer Game Fest, I was like, this really feels like a game that you kind of just need your hands on, and I feel like that's still how I feel about it. Like I'm not personally gonna know until I get around to playing it.
Yeah, a game that I'll say that has a big brick energy. Brick being the Bethesda game that I think everyone forgot about. Or no, Brink. Is it Brink?
Yeah, Brink.
Big
I was
Brink.
about to say Brick. I was like, what is Brick?
Big Brink energy. Sorry. But that's February 24th, 2026 is when that's out. Then we have also they had like Wreckfest cutscenes in between. I don't know if Recreation is a new game or not, but that's a pretty great name for a game. Recreation.
I think it is. I was also confused about that. I think it's like at least from the trailer, it felt like it was like a community, like kind of made Wreckfest experience or something like that. I'm really confused about that one specifically. But then, they had the gameplay trailer for Wreckfest 2. I played the first one a couple years ago and like enjoyed it as like a casual racing kind of demolition derby game. And it just kind of feels like one of those like we're doing the first game again, but better kind of sequels. So
I agree. And so Recreation, it seems to be actually, it's coming out for pre-order wish list. It's coming out for PS5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. So it's an arcade racing, open world arcade racing game. Mix your car, mix your world, mix the modes. So yeah, it's coming out. Not even out yet. Interesting. So new announcement, $40. So not a full price game either. Interesting. More you know. Then we have a remaster. This is Sacred 2 remaster. Seems that they like kind of updated the graphics, but it's very much so the same gameplay. It's an older title. Personally, I have not played the Sacred games, but hey, I'm sure like THQ kind of appeals to a certain kind of niche demographics, and I think this one it certainly hits their target audience to a certain degree at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sacred is one of those series that I always see when I'm like retro game shopping because it's on like 360 and PS3, I think. And it's like,
yeah,
I always like pick it up, look at the back of the box, and that's about where the end of the relationship is. So, it looks cool. But yeah, probably not one that I'm going to be picking up as well.
Now, after Sacred 2, they had, I think of both of the events we're talking about, the best trailer of both showcases. This was for the Goldman, the secret. Is it the Secret Life?
The Eternal
Life
of Goldman.
The Eternal Life of Goldman. Man, this trailer was so good. The way that like it obviously the trailer itself has like this kind of arc of how it goes through the different kind of or the levels and shows you the art style and highlights the new like different areas, but then the voiceover is like a really well kind of timed out execution of like it starts off a certain way and you're like, oh, I kind of get the tone of this, and it slowly falls apart. It's so good. I'm trying my best not to ruin it for you if you haven't watched it, because I recommend going check it out. And then yeah, like it progressively gets more and more brutal. But yeah, this looks so fucking sick.
I think the art style for Goldman is really cool. I think the gameplay looks really neat. There's a lot in this trailer of like precise platforming from what I remember, and like little like challenge kind of stuff. So that was a little bit of a surprise because I thought it was more of like a Metroidvania kind of action-y kind of game from the first trailer.
Sure.
But this definitely
still has like a Metroidvania aspect, I think, because like they show off like the map, like not just like the world map, but like a level map of like how you can get around. So I think that's still there, but yeah, it does have a little. It's more of that challenge than just navigation, as I was expecting, I guess, or combat, I suppose.
Kind of what you said before, like THQ. I feel like they have a certain budget line and a certain quality line that a lot of their projects kind of fall into.
Yeah.
But whenever I see Goldman, like I can't help but think that like I feel like this is going to be like one of their like heavy hitters. Where it's going to be like this will come out and it'll review like really well, and it'll be like an indie, quote unquote, an indie hit or something. Because like the trailers, like you mentioned and we're kind of talking around, like they have like it's a very unique kind of vision I think that this game has from the story, gameplay, art, like everything. So I definitely think Goldman's one to keep an eye on. Like it seems like this one's positioned to be probably pretty good.
Yeah. Then after that, we have, I believe it's Titan Quest 2. Mm-hmm. Damn. I don't know. I wasn't going to say Titanfall 2, guys. All right, please. Now, this one was kind of a surprise drop as far as I know. I don't follow Titan Quest 2 too much, but it went into early access right away, and it actually, as of yesterday, of when we're recording this, THQ Nordic says, "Thank you for making Titan Quest 2 the game with the second highest concurrent peak player count in THQ Nordic history during our very first weekend of early access." So over 300,000 copies sold for early access.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, huge congratulations to that team. Grimlore, I believe, is who's making that one.
The one unfortunate thing about Titan Quest is that it is very much of that Diablo like design, and I've not played Diablo, and that's the franchise like whenever I get around to wanting to play one of these action RPG kind of games, like I'm gonna play Diablo because it's like that's the one that has the most like history and reverence towards it. So it's like things like Path of Exile or Titan Quest. It's like I'm glad that those exist for people that are fans of those games, but like for me personally, it's like I'm probably gonna go to the the progenitor, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. So the next one after that is or was the Guild Europa 1410. Fun fact, Nick, I actually played the Guild 3 briefly. That came out a few years ago, back in 2022, and it was a little bit janky. Like I kind of it's first of all, it's a medieval town life sim, whatever it is, like whatever however you want to categorize it, like that. It had some. It was interesting because it's like Sims in a reductive way. It's Sims, but medieval. There's a lot more politics and stuff that goes in along in here,
Mhm.
but it still felt like it had a little bit of the weird kind of jank around it that I wasn't it didn't quite work for me, so I bounced off of it really fast. Like I put in a little bit of time into that game, and I just kind of didn't never went back to it. I meant to, and I was like, I'll get to it. But then eventually, I was just like, who am I kidding? I'm not gonna go back to it.
Mhm.
But this one, they show a little bit of gameplay, but it looks a little bit more polished as well, like the kind of just general art style.
Was
And
this the like
the
live
packaging.
action one?
It cuts between live action, and the gameplay. Yeah.
Okay, I whenever you read the name, I was like, did I fall asleep at this part? But I do remember like live action bits of this trailer.
Yeah. So you can wishlist that now if you like those kind of games. The next game that they showcased is one that I've had my eye on for a while. I knew that I was like at least mildly interested in it. I've talked about it on the podcast before too. It's the Gothic remake. This is not the Gothic re-releases that they're doing because they like pretty much you can get the classic versions on most of the consoles that are available. Like so, I don't know if it's on PS5, but you can play the PS4 version, right? Like I don't know if it's on Xbox Series XS, but it's on the you can play the Xbox One version. I believe there is one. There are all three of them are on the Switch as well. I know that because I can confirm that because I was scrolling through the eShop and I saw the classic. But this is a full remake and it looks pretty decent. Again, it has a certain level of quality that I think is because this is a Piranha Games game initially, or Piranha Bytes game initially. It has to have a certain level of that kind of puts will satiate fans, I suppose. And so I played Risen in the past. I thought it was interesting, and Gothic has always been the one that I like. While Risen was cool, Gothic's the one I wanted to go to. So yeah, Gothic remake, early 2026, coming to PS5, PC, Xbox Series XS. No Switch 2 or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game runs on Switch 2. It looks fine,
Yeah.
Actually, right after that. Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say right after that, I realized they talk about the classic releases of Gothic. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say Gothic is honestly like a blind spot for me. Like I've heard you talk about them and like we've had like discussions about it, and I think I've watched like obviously this trailer and like other bits of trailers and stuff, but it's a bit of a just like I said, a blind spot for me. Like I don't know much about it. Like we talked, I think, about the world building with it the one time. I remember us having a discussion about that and it sounding interesting, but yeah, like I really have no frame of reference for this entire series.
Dude, I'm curious if the remake will be like how will it be received, how will it be executed. I'm sure there's some pressure, obviously, kind of going into these things because while it might be like a blind spot, obviously for you or even me to a certain degree, there's like certain fans, like there's again, THQ serves the niches, and there's a niche of people that are really into this, and they'll be very like. There's a reason why they have a remake, and then right alongside the remake, they have the classic versions of the game also coming out, just in case. We're like, hey, if you want the hard stuff, then go ahead. And also, just to confirm, the Gothic Classic, Gothic 2 Complete Classic, and Gothic 3 Classic are all coming 2026 to Xbox and PlayStation. So on the horizon. There you go. Live updates. I keep updating myself here. All right, now another absolute. I mean, I knew this was going to be a great one, and we also knew that this was going to be at the showcase. But a highlight for me again was from Tarsier Studios, the developers of Little Nightmares 1 and 2, Reanimal. Man, I mean, look, this game looks really, really cool. Like atmospheric, a little spooky, fucked up. I mean, yeah, all the above.
It's crazy because that all of these games, Little Nightmares 1, 2, and Reanimal, they definitely have a consistent visual style. And
Yeah.
I always find that so interesting when a studio like Guitar Seer can like nail down that style, because it's like I can't even really tell you what about it is it's their game, but you look at it and it's like I know it's them.
Yeah.
Like
Like is it the color palette? Is the camera angle? Is it the movement of the characters? The animation? Like there's so many different things that kind of put together that makes their signature kind of look.
mm-hmm. I haven't played Little Nightmares, but I keep being told that it's like really good and that I should play them.
It's on my list.
And
Yeah.
it's like I played Inside a couple years ago, which I know is not the same thing, but like I feel like they're kind of like spiritually linked, that like Limbo,
Sure.
Inside, and Little Nightmares kind of thing. So every couple years I get into the mood for one of them. I feel like Reanimal I would probably hop into before Little Nightmares 1 and 2, just because it is like
It's a one-off.
and one-off and everything like that. But yeah, exactly like you said.
Though if it changes you at all, I do believe that they are relatively short games. I think like both of them are like 12 hours combined or something like that.
That is a fair point. If Reanimal ends up being like 20 hours.
Slave through this game. No, this man, like this and Eternal Life Goldman were like the two like it's not at all disrespectful, but I think it speaks to the both of these studios kind of really punching above their weight class. I don't imagine their budget to be like gigantic like compared to like the other games THQ might put out, but like they specifically have a style that they're absolutely nailing. So Reanimal Q1 2026, PS5, Xbox Series XS, Switch 2, and PC. Also, I will quickly shout out, and again, I really appreciate THQ Nordic for this. This is a pretty small game, right? Like it's very, very like specific audience for it, but they're treating this shit like a triple A. Like I don't know if you saw it, Nick, but they have a collector's edition that has like a fucking. It has the pig with its guts falling out, and it's a full package. If you have the budget and the interest, then check out the Reanimal Collector's Edition.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, we have a game that honestly I was not expecting at all. A very, very big surprise because I didn't know what to expect. I mean, they were teasing that there was some surprise that they were coming.
Mm-hmm.
But they started by saying the following game is created by 10 passionate developers, and then they fucking go on for this like really good CGI cutscene, really cool rendered like shots of like tiny little intricate detail work and stuff. And then they go into gameplay. And Nick, I don't know about you, man, but this game, like it reminded me of Avowed, but I was really digging it here. It was very small snippets, and I don't know how much of it is like, oh yeah, this is how you're gonna feel when you're playing this game. But it looked really cool. It's called Fate Keeper, which, by the way, cool name. First person fantasy adventure, not like similar fighting style to Avowed, but you take Avowed and then you mix it with that, like the gameplay style of Avowed. You mix it with some interesting, creepy, crawly like creature design, and then like Doom style finishers. Because there's like a scene where like he like chops the sword, and then you could see the fucking head split open of the monster that you're fighting. That was pretty sick.
It's funny that you immediately go to Avowed, because like whenever I watched this, I was like, oh, it's THQ Skyrim. And it's like, because I haven't played Avowed, but like I totally think that I would probably draw that same conclusion whenever I do play it. Yeah, this one stood out to me too. It was definitely a surprise. This felt like I just made the comment about how like THQ games feel like they have like a certain budget level. This kind of feels like a step above that, at least from what we were seeing. First person action games like this, they do kind of appeal to me. I think it's that Bethesda fan in me that like I just kind of like that style of game. And so it really stood out to me in that way. I definitely think we need to see a bit more from this one before I'm like fully sold on it, because there's even games that have come out this year like Tainted Grail that are kind of going after this like Elder Scrolls-esque, like Avowed-esque kind of game style. So I definitely like to see a bit more, but I definitely think that this was a really cool game to include in the showcase like this. And unfortunately, as a person that has an attachment to this series, I do think that they chose the right game to end the show on, but maybe wasn't as interesting of a trailer as Fate Keeper here.
Yeah. I mean, I think Fate Keeper kind of, they get, if they had like I'm going to say it, all right? I'm going to say it. If they had they didn't actually say it, but if they did say, these are the final 2 games, and then they dropped both of these games, I would have been like, oh, that's an impressive way to end the showcase, because you got one totally new IP, new team, that's like, again, as Nick was saying, punching above its weight class, and delivering a product that I hope lives up to the kind of look that they've given here. It's going to early access this winter, so we'll have a pretty quick idea about how Fate Keeper will be. But then the next game, as Nick was hinting at, we predicted this one as well, because it's not a crazy prediction. They teased it in a smaller way last year, but Darksiders 4, pretty cool little cinematic. Again, no gameplay. You don't really see much, but I think the one thing that they do give you, maybe I'm reading into it, co-op. It seems to be the...
So the reason why I think that this trailer is pretty hype, honestly, is that since its inception, essentially, in the first Darksiders, it's all been about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. That's who you play as in these games. And essentially, it's been a while since I've played it, but in the first one, you're playing as War, and he's kind of like on trial for like some crime that he committed or whatever. And essentially, you play through War's story. Then in Darksiders 2, you play as Death. In Darksiders 3, I think it's Fury. And then in Darksiders Genesis, you play as whichever the last one is. I'm forgetting on it right now. But basically, each one of these games, while you're playing as a different horseman, they are also different gameplay styles. So like Darksiders 1 is kind of like a Zelda / God of War kind of game. Darksiders 2 is kind of, again, like Zelda, but with like a little bit more Diablo and like loot in it. Darksiders 3 is like kind of like Souls-like in a few ways. And then Genesis, I've not played yet. I did pick it up recently, but that is like a top-down shooter almost. Like it's Strife. That's the name of the other one.
Dang.
But yeah, it's like this series has gone on for so long, and like it felt like after 2 did well, I remember, sales-wise. But I remember there was a pretty big gap of time, I think because of rights or like, studio closures, something like that like separated it between Darksiders 2 and 3. And people were like, we're not sure if we're, going to be able to finish this series out or whatever. And then 3 comes along, then we get Genesis, and now it's like with 4, like you're alluding to, War has this moment where he's just like, not alone. And like all of the horsemen are there, and it's like, if they are teasing that this is like a co-op game, or like, and in some way you get to play as all 4 of them together, and this seemingly might be like the culmination of this franchise's story. Like I left that, even though it's just kind of like a cinematic trailer and there's no gameplay yet, I still left that trailer being like, oh man, like they're doing it. Like this is going to be like the culmination of this series, which is really cool.
One thing, so I'll quickly, while you're saying it, I wanted to do some digging, see if I could find anything. According to the website, this is all they say. The legendary saga of the 4 horsemen continues in Darksiders 4, an all-new action-adventure set in the apocalyptic version of Earth, and continues where the original Darksiders game left off. Darksiders 4 is a third-person action-adventure game featuring combat, traversal, puzzle-solving, in a lore-rich post-apocalyptic world. This is where maybe I was a little hesitant on my theory. That's why I was, why I said what I said, which is choose your horsemen. Take up one of the legendary horsemen, each of their unique weapons and combat, each with their own unique weapons and combat styles. I don't know if that means like just like, hey, you pick one and then your friends can pick the other. They actually don't mention co-op at all here, but they also say cinematic combat and then experience realms to explore, or expansive realms. Sorry, expansive realms to explore. But the one thing that got me really excited about this game that I honestly didn't realize about the last few Darksiders games is that it's from Gunfire Games. And if you don't know Gunfire, they're most known for Remnant 1 and 2 and Chronos Before the Ashes, which is another one I played. And just like, I feel like with the way that this studio got the combat down, I mean, man, it'd be very interesting. And also, it makes sense after like Remnant 2 being like such a co-op heavy game that they would go for another co-op experience. I don't know. But there you go. That was the THQ Nordic Showcase. Nick, what'd you think?
Yeah, we kind of alluded to it, but I did think compared to the Nintendo Direct, there was a bit more in this showcase that I was actually interested in, Darksiders notwithstanding. Like, I think Reanimal, Goldman, Fate Keeper, like those are games that I am at least curious with. So I think it was a leaner show, but I think what they showed was a bit more interesting overall. And I think they had a better variety from, like, you know, you got your fantasy RPGs, you got horror, platformers,
multiplayer racing game.
Exactly. So
yeah,
I think it was just a better show overall.
Yeah. So, and it was, well paced. I recommend checking out the trailers if you haven't watched them yet. Some of them are just CG, but like, again, that Fate Keeper one, I highly recommend checking it out because they get some gameplay in there, and I'm hoping it lives up to it. But with that said, that has been our thoughts on all the games that were announced during the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, as well as the THQ Showcase, the Digital Showcase 2025. What did you think? Let us know down in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Nick, do you have anything else to say about the, anything? You gotta like this, try that for people?
No, but
I gave mine.
I'm sad that BioShock is having troubles. I really hope that they can turn that around because I really love that franchise. But if they can't, then I guess I still have Judas to look forward to. And
that's true.
I'm excited that Darksiders is like gonna have like a big game. Yeah. The one thing that you mentioned real quick as my last little thing. You said that it's continuing the story after the first game, which I forgot to mention that all of the games take place like at the same time. It's just with the different characters. So this will be the first time that the story has like progressed since the first game.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'll have to play the Darksiders games before this new one. There's no date on that one as far as I know. So there you go. Obviously, the best way to know if I'm, playing a Darksiders game or playing another visual novel, or maybe another Souls-like, because I do that now. You can, of course, subscribe and leave a like to just support the channel, support the show. Obviously, check out RespawnStation.com. Subscribe to that over there on the website so you can get notified whenever a new article goes up. And we've got some good articles coming up. We'll be going to Gamescom this year, and so that's going to be some interesting stuff as well. There's a lot going on, so do what you got to do to make sure you're not missing the content. Nick, thanks as always for joining me, my friend. I'll talk to you next week. I don't talk to Nick at all in between episodes, so I hope I hope you're alive by next week.
Yep.
And until next time, people, as always, have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good time.